So with today's soap, what we're going to do first is we're actually going to weigh out our oils before we then move on, because we're going to need to use these oils to do the next part, which is our fluorescent colourings. So I need, I believe it is 42.5 grams of this, which is palm kernel oil. Now for a fluid recipe, you do need to use something like lard. So if you are vegetarian, you then have to look for alternates. I'm not, I don't mind lard within my soaps, and therefore I'm going to go with this, but you may need to look for an alternative and you may need to test. But for this recipe, to get a fluid soap, we are going to use lard. Avocado oil is next. Castor oil. So that is our lye solution, which is a 1 part lye to 1 part water solution in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our water. Now again, I have said this in other videos, but we'll take the measure of the temperature here, and we are looking at a temperature at the moment of 19 degrees. Okay, so you can see in there we've got a 19 degree. So we're going to add our water. Give that a quick slush, and you'll see that it has kind of clouded a little bit. We just want to make sure that goes clear. Okay, that will clear up. I'm just going to leave that there. Same place. I'm just going to take a quick reading. And that's already gone up to 45 degrees. So the real advantage when you use a lye solution, that's a 1-to-1, and then you add water into it, is that the temperature is already going to increase in this. Okay, and so you're going to get that temperature rise, but it's not going to be too hot, and your oils and your lye solution will come down together, and that will clear. So I put the lid on, and then you give a half turn back, so the lid is still on. Okay, it's loose, and it'll allow the gases and things to escape if they need to. So let's move on to sorting out our fluorescent or neon micas, and I'm going to show you a technique now which will allow you to do some interesting stuff with your neon micas. We're going to make our kind of fluorescent-y corally orange. So I've got some fluorescent mica powder here, and I'm going to add one bit of those. So it's always worthwhile having a bit more than you need than running out. Obviously, if you're making this according to UK regulations to sell, you need to have done this all in advance in order to make sure that you are going to be adhering to the rules and regulations in the UK. But other than that, this is kind of a test, and then I'm going to add one of those. Okay, so we've got that there, and then I'm going to take my batch oil that I'm going to bring in here, and I'm going to take a squirt of that, and I'm going to add a couple of those around there, and then here is the kind of important critical thing that you want to do. What you want to do is take a palette knife, and you're going to incorporate these into that oil. We may need to add a little bit more oil in a minute, but we'll just see where we get with this. Try not to go too heavy at the beginning, because you do want to incorporate this fully. Otherwise, you can see here it just kind of spurts out everywhere when you put your... So we want to be able to get this worked into the oil, but not have too much oil, so that we're saponifying as much in the first process before we then pour into our pictures. So we're at a nice stage here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of drag this backwards and forwards on my plate, bring it back, drag it, bring it back, drag it. So the idea behind this kind of corally pink colour is, rather than adding yellow, which you can add too much of, the orange has already got red in it. So you are creating this kind of nice, kind of subtler pink colour from that fluorescent, and it will work really nicely with the kind of tealy colour that we're going to do in a minute. But the idea behind this is we're trying to grind all of those fluorescent pigments into the oils already, so that when we add our batter we can stir it through and we're not going to get any kind of lumping or dry patches within there. So make sure we kind of really work that in. Now I'm using a glass sheet here, you can use acrylic as well. And then what I'm just going to do is just have a look and see if we've got any kind of scrapes or anything happening in our okay. And so by doing it this way, you can ensure that you're getting a really good mix of those colours. Pushing it against the glass to make sure that you're grinding. You're essentially, now if you do have a marver, which is used in creating kind of watercolours or oil paints, which is like a flat bottomed glass that you would grind them with, that's really useful here. But if you don't have them, you can do it with your palette knives, you can do it with a knife, you can really do this, but as long as you're kind of getting that grind right in, and that's going to be fantastic there, I think. So I'm just going to bring in my little pot here, scrape up, drop that into there, and you can see that how this colour kind of has absorbed all of that oil. A little bit too much of a bend in that one. Let's use this little one here. Just try and get as much of this up as I possibly can. And we'll wipe it down, and we'll do the same for the blue teal colour. So I'll fast forward now through that bit, and you can see how we do the second colour. Just going to look at my final colour, which is going to be black, and I tend to use a black mica rather than activated charcoal. It doesn't bleed quite so much and just overall gives you a nicer kind of blackness. But the way I use this one, because this is not a fluorescent colour and I want a relatively good saturation in that. Now this is just going to be purely for one part of it. I am just going to add a little bit of additional oil into this one. Because I'm not selling this soap, I don't need to worry too much about that. And then this little device here, which may look battered and broken, but this is what's called a Greek frappe mixer, and it has a little bit on the end. Let me get it here for you, so you can see, which is nice and fast. Now this will do quite a good job. So let's just check our temperatures again. We've got a little bit of lye lint in there, it'll be fine, that'll mix in. So we are on a 40 there and a 35 there, so we're well within the tolerances. 39, 30. Yeah, we're cooling down quite nicely. So within the range I'm happy to soap at. So this should be a slow trace recipe. So what we're going to do is, rather than starting off too quickly, what I'm going to do is add my lye to my oils by pouring down the stick, pouring down the and we'll give this a very, just start the mixing going. And you'll see that this looks quite light, and you'll see that even more once I get the stick blender in here. Give it a good burp. Stick blender on. So you can see how nice and white this soap looks. And that's because we've got the lard in there and we've got relatively light coloured oils going on, but a lard or tallow soap always tends to be considerably whiter than other soaps. So I'm going to just take a look at our stick blender here, see where our emulsion is. I just want to get this to emulsion. I've got a little bit of working time I need to think about with this one. So hopefully you can see there that we've got a nice homogeneous So why would you look at using a slow tracing batter? Yeah, we've definitely got that one. I mean, this is going to go a little bit quicker than I would normally want it, but I just wanted to make sure that that was absolutely in the ballpark. But you'll see here, still nice and fluid. We're going to have plenty of work time with that, but we're also going to be able to work with this a little bit quicker than had I just got to emulsion. So that's absolutely fantastic. So again, why would you want a slow moving batter? Well, if you're a beginner, slow moving batters are great because it'll allow you to try different techniques out, and you don't have to worry about them setting up too quickly. You want a slow moving batter for a lot of really intricate swirling. You do need a slow moving batter in order to facilitate some of those. You get a whiter bar from it, as I say, and overall you're better off waiting for a soap to come up to the consistency that you need it to be at, rather than rushing a soap. So I'm just going to use my little frappe mixer again here. I'm going to keep it on the surface this time. Again, I know the working time I've got with this is considerable. So that's my pink done. I'm not going to bother wiping it off too much. Get into the bottom there, pick the blue up. So you'll always know you've got a good colour, or you've got a good white batch when a blue stays nice and blue. Lovely. So that's those two done. And then what we're going to do is just add our black into this one. And just turn that into a beautiful black colour. So I have got my my palm kernel oil jug here, and I'm going to utilise that one for this black. There's a little bit left there, but that's fine. We'll come back to that in a little while. And then we've got our blue and our pink. And I have some stirrers, so I can just kind of keep an eye on those. They're just started to set up. They should be brilliant. So this pour is going to be like a thin lines pour, but we're going to do it individually with each of the colours in turn, and we're going to do a little sweep in our mould here. So I'm going to bring this mould a little bit into the centre here. It's at an angle, so I've got it propped up on a little pot here, and we're going to pour our soap along this edge. Okay, so I tend to start in the middle and go out, back into the middle. Okay, and we've got a pink one, middle, out, out, and into the middle. So we've gotten to the kind of limit of our jug here, but what we want to do is give our black a bit of a scrape out into here and get the last of that into here. Oils at the moment are very expensive, so the oils that you are using in here, you want to get the most out of. I've got a little bit of pink and a little bit of blue, which is perfect. And then what I'm going to do is just continue to use this black until it's all used up. And I'm going to essentially take out that. And as I'm pouring this, I'm going to let everything just kind of settle down and lower it. And when you do this, make sure you're always pouring on the same side that you were pouring on, so that everything is going the right way, or you will get this odd kind of stepping. It will look a little bit strange. Okay. Now, I'm going to give something a go here that I've never done, but we're going to see how it might work and what we get out of it in the end. So I've got a spatula here that looks a little bit like this one, and I'm actually going to just wipe down a wee bit of this so you can see how strong those pigments are by what it's doing to the surface here, but that's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip this in here and pull that across. Okay, just boop, 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 across like that. Okay, scrape the excess off there. You can see everything's just starting to thicken up a little bit now, but that's fine. Let's just get those into there. Okay. And then in here I'm going to pour, I know I've gone on the opposite side, but that's fine because I'm going to do one pink, then our blue. These things happen. Our pink, our blue, pink, our blue, quick wipe that down. There's no rules, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no regulations, there's nothing that you have to do. You can just make this as weird and wacky as you want. So here we are with the cut of this particular, and look at that, look at those colours, how bright and vibrant they are. Now that's because I've reduced the amount of room between the top of the mould and the surface, so there's very little soda ash on there. There's maybe a tiny little bit, but that'll come off with a bit of steaming. So I'm just going to go into here and open up the sides of this. I'm just trying to release the pressure in here, and I may need to do a little bit more. Yeah, needs a little bit more releasing, so let's just really get there, get down to the bottom so that goes underneath. And then let's give that a quick push and we'll get this out here. So if you remember, I dropped the jug in the top of this one while I was making it, and I'm still posting it, because sometimes those little accidents can give you something unusual. Sometimes it might ruin it, and sometimes it may not make a difference at all. So we'll see what happens with this one. So all I'm going to do is run a knife very quickly along the edges so I can get rid of that kind of sticky up bit here. You can use a potato peeler or a vegetable peeler on there, but just going to get rid of that edge there and that edge there. And then we'll bring in my single bar cutter here, and I've used a different angle here. Tell me if you like it or not, because obviously I'd like to know. But there we go, there's the top of it. So you can see all those nice swirls. You've got those really rich, bright, vibrant fluorescent colours. I love the brightness of these against the black. And here we go, let's get a slice out and see what our design inside looks like. So hopefully you can see that nicely there. Let's give this a line up, pressing in, give it a cut, and here we go. So what are we going to have on the inside? Oh, there we go, and let's see. And voila, there we go. You can see the inside there. I'm going to do a bit of a close-up here. Way, there we are. So you can see all of those lines really nicely striated. You get this real kind of like flow through. It's almost like jellyfish tendrils or something. It's a really simple technique. Because we were working with our batter being nice and fluid, it's given us this kind of real juxtaposition. I've gone through with a very simple technique, but it's given us this really kind of unusual design. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this in a slightly different way and see if we get a different look. So I'm going to turn it 90 degrees so that rather than cutting through it, we're going to cut with the grain, and let's see what we get from here. So again, these techniques, depending on how you cut them, is going to give you a different look and feel. So this one here, we'll pull this apart. I'm not going to show you that bit. We're going to show you this bit here. And there we go. Look at that. So we've got this real kind of like striation going left to right. Compared to the other one, you've got them flowing downward. So there's two very different feeling soaps from one bar. And I really kind of quite like that. So if you have enjoyed this video, why not think about subscribing? If you do subscribe, click the bell icon to get notified when a new video is uploaded. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.